This is a fun little thought experiment that dives into the future of the Detroit Red Wings and which names could be in, which names could be out. You see, yesterday, the Yzerbot, dude with chronic pain, went out there and posted on the Detroit Red Wings subreddit the off-season trade free agency mega thread. Post your trade free agency ideas and discussion here. Now, if you are on Reddit, you understand how these things work. There are daily general discussion threads. There is a new off-season trade free agency mega thread, essentially to prevent the clogging and continuous reposts of, hey, should the Red Wings trade for McDavid? 10 times a week. This is the thread where you are permitted to just kind of spew whatever it is that you want. And these usually have some pretty interesting ideas. We're going to dive into what some of the comments go out there and say, and which names could potentially be on the block. However, I did want to start this video out by reading this comment made by the Dual Joystick. Red Wings fans are going to have to come to terms with the fact that the free agent market is full of players that will very marginally move the needle, if at all. And that the Detroit Red Wings aren't getting anybody of importance through a trade, without giving up key prospects or high draft picks. Sorry, but Steve Yzerman isn't turning Andrew Kopp and Michael Rasmussen into Auston Matthews. So, there's the drop of realism right there at the beginning, posted out there by the Dual Joystick. I don't think anybody is suggesting that Kopp and Rasmussen would turn into Matthews, but if you wanted to take a look at some of the names that have been brought up, there was a really great comment here posted by Tom Driftwood that essentially breaks players up into 4 categories. You've got 2 lists of players that are not wings but should potentially be wings, and 2 lists of guys that are wings, some of which should be let go, others who should be brought back. Driftwood goes out there and says this: pound the table. Kent Johnson, Alexis Lafreniere, Mason McTavish, and Matvei Michkov. Kick the tires. Auston Matthews, Connor McDavid, Brady Tkachuk, Jason Robertson, Robert Thomas, Quinn Hughes, Connor Hellebuyck. Then you have the drop the weight section. Let go of Michael Rasmussen, JT Compher, Mason Appleton, David Perron, and Travis Hamonic. And then the re-sign and extend list. You've got Patty Kane, Alex DeBrincat, and Simon Edvinsson. Pretty comprehensive list that essentially goes over the majority of the names that have been discussed in NHL player movement discussions. Obviously, each of these guys has varying levels as to whether or not they would be or could be a trade option. But still, there are a number of great conversations to have here, starting out with the quote-unquote pound the table guys, players that Steve Yzerman should be targeting. Essentially, young players that are not really having the best time with their teams at the moment. Kent Johnson is a prime example of that, as the guy had 22 points in 76 games this season after scoring 57 points in 68 games last season. Make no mistake about it, this year was one of the worst seasons that Kent Johnson has had professionally. He was a Michigan Wolverine, so there's a connection there. Port Moody, BC guy, so he's from my side of the continent. And Kent Johnson, with his video game like Deeks and hockey IQ, certainly has a lot to offer any organization that decides to play him. Obviously, Columbus is not really a team that has been committed to doing that. He's getting 9, 7, 8-minute games here and there. Kent Johnson would be a pretty good one. Alexis Lafreniere is also listed on the pound the table list, which honestly, I don't think it's realistic anymore to suggest the idea of him going over to any team. It seems like with Lafreniere really finding his stride post-Panarin trade, this is going to be an opportunity for him to fully capitalize on the 57 points in 82 games that he had. You can say that, yeah, it's true, Alexis Lafreniere's season this year technically did match the career high he had 2 seasons ago, but the difference is the Rangers are bad now, and they don't have Panarin. So Alexis Lafreniere showing up and actually putting the biscuit in the basket, it's a lot more of a positive endorsement of his talent rather than a let's see if he's still available on the trade block type of thing. You have Mason McTavish in Anaheim, who admittedly is going through some of his own growing pains. He had 52 points last year, 41 points this year. Granted, he's got 3 points in 5 Ducks games this season against Edmonton, and he's been playing a little bit more here and there. If this guy is available and he doesn't necessarily fit into the long-term plans of the Ducks, obviously you got to check on the availability there. There was some conversation earlier in the season. We'll see whether or not that continues. A lot of that happened to do with his contract negotiations that did take a decent amount of time earlier this summer. And then you have Matvei Michkov, a guy whom we had just made a video about earlier on the channel, so you could check that out if you please. The guy's going through some really, really rough times in Philadelphia. He's getting healthy scratched. He's not playing. He's not scoring. Rick Tocchet doesn't trust this dude. The fact that we can have people on Twitter joking around about how Michkov reportedly missed the trip to the airport and arrived late only for Rick Tocchet to banish him from the airplane, the fact that people are going out there and believing this is so indicative of how bad the Michkov situation has gotten in Philadelphia. Moving on to the other list, though, kick the tires. Now, this is really funny. See what's possible with Auston Matthews. See what's possible with McDavid, Brady, Tkachuk, Robertson, Thomas, Hughes, Hellebuyck. Some of these names make a lot more sense than others. Obviously, if you wanted to talk about Auston Matthews, if this guy is so inclined to coming to the United States, then we already did make a video talking about why this would make sense. Auston Matthews did play for the NTDP after all, which is based out of Plymouth, Michigan, so we can, technically, reignite the Pappy trade conversation discourse. Same thing could be said about essentially everybody who has found themselves in the NTDP. Brady Tkachuk is a different name that we are always linking to teams. Could he go join his brother in Florida? Could he go join Quinn Hughes in Minnesota? Could he go join Robert Thomas in St. Louis? Yeah, there are a number of possibilities for Brady Tkachuk over here. Is it realistic? Probably not, but there's got to be one team that takes him, right? And then you also have Connor McJesus. Now, for McDavid's sake, he did end up winning yesterday's game against the Anaheim Ducks. The Oilers lived to see another day. McDavid finally, 24 minutes of ice time with another 2 points there after going pointless in the first 2 games of the contest. Yes, he doesn't look like himself, but the Oilers are starting to win. And if they 4-7 and McDavid ends up carrying this team to the second round, then you know that his heart is still going to be burning for the Oilers, at least at this stage. If the Oilers lost yesterday against Anaheim, then who knows? The McDavid conversation probably could be a lot more real at that stage. Then you have some of the other guys as well. Robert Thomas, we have already spoken about him a bunch. Quinn Hughes, is there a possibility that he ends up coming to Detroit anyway? I don't think it's really possible, but hey, weirder things have happened, right? And then when it comes to the Connor Hellebuycks of it all, I mean, Hellebuyck did express some disappointment with the way the Winnipeg Jets finished off their season. He is from Michigan himself, but John Gibson's doing pretty all right. I don't know if there really is a need for Connor Hellebuyck. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below whether or not that's possible in your mind. Then it comes to dropping the weight. Rasmussen, Comfer, Appleton, Perron, Hamonic. Look, I love the aggressiveness of David Perron as much as the next guy. I love the stability that a guy like Mason Appleton brings, but I think this is pretty fair. I think you can say that if you're building a team that is better in the bottom 6, you can replace some of these names, right? Like, the amount of times these guys had not moved the needle for the Red Wings this season, you can count on it, but you would need like 3 or 4 hands. And then some. Drop the weight. Bring in somebody else, whether it's a younger player with a little bit more intensity or just a better overall package. I think Rasmussen, Comfer, Appleton, Perron, Hamonic, these guys are indeed expendable. And then for the re-sign and extend page at the end, I mean, yeah, you gotta bring back Alex DeBrincat. There's no way this guy is gonna go 85 points in 82 games, 41 goal season. He had a career high in overall points and assists. Big congratulations to DeBrincat for finally getting over that Chicago hump. He just kind of needed Patrick Kane on his side to do it again. Simon Edvinsson, of course, goes without saying he will be re-signed. So with that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these trade targets, trade ideas, from the Johnsons to the Lafrenières to the Michkovs to Matthews, Quinn, Hughes, Robertson, and Hellebuyck? Which one do you think is most likely to head over to Detroit in a trade, and which one do you think Stevie Y would be interested in the most? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.